Shoya Ishida lived a life filled with regrets. Quitting his job on April 9th, he thanked his boss for everything. He sold all of his things so he could finally pay his mother back. He walked out to the bridge, where he imagined finally ending it all. But it wasn't time yet. April 15th was his last day. In elementary school, he used to play with his buddies, Kisuke and Kazuki, all the time. He was a normal kid living a normal life, albeit he and his buddies were a little rowdy. When his teacher announced there'd be a new student joining them, his deskmate, Naoka, told him, "Lucky you, it's a girl." But why would he care? When the teacher told the new girl to introduce herself, she suddenly pulled out a notebook that read, "For Conversations," introducing herself with only written words as Shoko Nishimiya. The classmates became quizzical, as Shoko told them to communicate with her through the notebook. She hoped they would all become great friends. They were aghast, finding out she was deaf. The girls did their best to befriend her, while Shoya and his boys were business as usual. Naoka even tried to help Shoko with notes during lecture. When music class began, Shoko's singing was incoherent, and she started too early. So Miki did her best to assist her, but Naoka was annoyed, knowing winning the choir competition was now out of the question. Then, reaching a class where the students had to recite lines from a book, Shoko's recitings were, for the most part, babble. When it was Shoya's turn, he mocked her, earning a quick scolding from his teacher. Things only became worse for Shoko's school life. Naoka and the girls would begin to leave Shoko out of things. Shoya told her she needed to understand them better, or people would start to hate her. She didn't understand what he said, instead responding to him that she wanted to be friends. And for some reason, he threw sand at her while calling her gross. One of their teachers would later explain the concept of sign language, and ask the students if they'd like to spend 3 minutes of homeroom each morning learning it, to communicate with Shoko better. However, Naoka asked why writing in her notebook wasn't enough. Despite that, another girl, Miyoko Sahara, offered to learn sign from Shoko. This made the other girls ostracize Miyoko to the point she stopped showing up for school. Shoya and his friends took it further, with him writing all over the chalkboard, congratulating Shoko for driving the girl off somewhere. Even though they were mean to her, she just wrote, "Thank you," in response. Still, the bullying went on, with Shoya harassing the deaf girl in class. Naoka would join in, taking one of Shoko's hearing aids and passing it to Shoya, and he threw it out the window. The bullying went on and on and on and on, until one day, he pulled out Shoko's hearing aids and it caused her ears to bleed. She met with him after school and only wrote, "I'm sorry," for him to read. And despite what he'd done, she still gestured that she wanted to be friends with him. However, he'd only toss her notebook into a nearby fountain. The boys were surprised to see her go after it, even willing to get herself wet. Eventually, Shoya's friends would turn on him, and he became the subject of their bullying. There was a day where the principal came into the class to announce Shoko's mother had called in. For the past 5 months at this point, 8 of her hearing aids had been lost or broken. Her mother believed Shoko was being bullied, and she was right, of course. Now hearing from the principal that hearing aids were expensive, Shoya was experiencing guilt. Because his own mother worked hard to put bread on the table, the homeroom teacher slammed his hand against the chalkboard, announcing to everyone Shoya was the obvious bully in question. And now all the classmates were throwing Shoya under the bus to save their skins. He tried to say he wasn't the only perpetrator, adding his buddies, along with Naoka and Miki into the mix. But Miki cried crocodile tears, saying she'd never bully anyone. Getting up from the fountain, he found Shoko's notebook that he threw into the water back then. He opened it, reading the harsh things his fellow classmates had written to harass Shoko. Coming home, his mother knew everything he had been doing to her, and now she had to pay the price, withdrawing money from her account. She went to go talk privately with Miss Nishimiya, shooing Shoya off by himself. He accidentally stumbled upon Shoko feeding some pigeons, and tried to discreetly leave, but stumbled, alerting her to his presence. By the end, Shoya's mother came back with a bloody ear, telling her son to be a good boy from now on. But his now on wouldn't be good to him. He was bullied every single day. In many ways, Shoko had been bullied. He walked back into class, surprised to find that she had cleaned his desk. Instead of thanking her, he shoved her off, telling her to drop the goody two-shoes act. He didn't understand the look she'd always give him, and it pissed him off. But with him shaking her, she bit him. The two began to fight, and she climbed on top, mumbling through her words, "I'm trying, you know." He would then scrub his desk himself every day, because his classmates would insult and write on it that he needed to disappear. Eventually, Shoko would transfer out of their school. 6 years later, at Shoko's sign language class, he noticed her walking by and tried to greet her. She didn't know how to react and suddenly bolted off, trying to hide, but he caught her, handing back the notebook she used back in the 6th grade. She was shocked, discovering he learned sign language. He then made the same gestures she did to him back then, asking her if they could be friends, but quickly slapped himself, only now realizing that's exactly what she asked him back then. He turned back to see tears welling up in her eyes and begged her to stop crying. Another day, he woke up to his little niece, Maria, telling him it was time for breakfast. Downstairs, his older sister took off for work. His mother smiled, showing off the money he had finally paid her back with having worked his part-time job. He even sold off his manga, clothes, and bed to make it happen, but it made her happy. She then asked him why he wanted to kill himself, and he answered anxiously that a lot happened, but he wouldn't now. She lashed out at him. She knew something was off. His room was way too clean, his phone was off, and his calendar looked quite ominous. All the pages were ripped off after April. If he didn't promise not to kill himself, she was going to burn up the money he gave her, all 1.7 million yen he earned through blood, sweat, and tears. He just remembered his mother smiling the day her ear was bloodied meeting Miss Nishimiya. He quickly got up to apologize and promised he wouldn't try to kill himself no matter what. But his mother accidentally still burned the money in the process. But you wouldn't be burning money by liking this video and subscribing to my channel. Because here at my Shoujo Weekly, I'm covering all the good stories for you to listen to, even the ones that piss me off like this one. I also stream on a weekly basis, where I play games with interesting narratives and chat with you. So come on, subscribe to your guy and join me live. He was going to jump off a tall bridge and die yesterday. Going to see Shoko was part of that too. It was the biggest test of courage for him, but he got flustered just thinking about it. At their middle school entrance ceremony, he overheard Kazuki say, "Stay away from that guy named Shoya Ishida. He's a bully." Shoya realized that your sins always came back to bite you, and that he had to bear the cross and punishment that came with his. That's why he found himself all alone, completely ostracized in school. He imagined all the way his fellow classmates would talk crap about him. He imagined them saying things like, "Shoya was always by himself, huh? He's famous for it, everyone knows." And, "Oh, he's looking this way again? Doesn't he get lonely being all alone all the time? Why does he even live, then?" He tried to make amends with Kazuki, but his ex-best friend was cold. Eating lunch by himself like usual, he wondered if he could really see Shoko again. She said she regularly feeds the carp bread. Maybe he can make an excuse to see her by apologizing for making her cry. She said she'd be there every Tuesday. He wondered if he was being creepy. At home, he was jump-scared by his mother, who apologized for accidentally burning all the money he earned. She made the excuse she wouldn't want the money he earned in order to die anyway. Either way, he offered just to earn it again. At school the next day, he noticed one of his classmates getting harassed for his bike. The classmate screamed for help, so Shoya offered his own instead. He never got it back, and it just happened to be a Tuesday. Was this a sign he shouldn't go see Shoko? Well, it's not like he couldn't walk there, but he felt like the universe was telling him not to go. He needed an excuse, and finding a discount coupon for baguettes on the ground, he got what he needed. Showing up to her class with the bread, he was stopped by a little boy, Yuzuru, who told Shoya she wasn't in class today, when he could clearly see her. Yuzuru then claimed to be Shoko's boyfriend, closed the door on him, and went back to Shoko, telling her there was just a rat outside, and not to worry, because it was never coming back. Heading back, the classmate Shoya helped out the other day came back with his bike. Shoya's bike was apparently dumped in a paddy field. Showing his glee, the X covering Tomohiro's face fell. Shoya was surprised to learn Tomo sat right behind him in class. Now, they were friendly, hanging out after school watching a movie and eating a meal together. Tomo called them best friends, but Shoya wondered what it meant to be a friend. Instead of giving a long speech or any sophistry, Tomo simply showed Shoya a special handshake, saying that's what friends are. He believed friendship defied logic or words. This gave Shoya encouragement, and he came back to Shoko's class another day, offering Yuzuru the bread to give to Shoko instead. Yuzuru tried pushing him away, telling him if he was just here to make himself feel better, to please leave. This discouraged Shoya, but luckily, Tomo was here to intervene, telling Yuzuru to stop gatekeeping Shoko, basically. The two got into a more heated argument, causing a commotion big enough that Shoko finally noticed him. He got embarrassed and ran off, and Shoko chased after, from above. Yuzu and Tomo were peeping at them with Yuzu's camera. Yuzu read their signing. Shoyo said he spent the past 2 weeks thinking about what friendship meant, and he had been searching for a reason to meet her. Shoko was glad, and also had been thinking the same thing. The two then fed the birds in the pond, and Shoko pulled out her 6th grade notebook. Shoya tried to grab at it, suggesting she don't look inside, causing it to fall in the water. Shoko jumped right in after it, and so did Shoya. Trying to avoid glancing at her panties, he dove up with the notebook on his head. He apologized for accidentally dunking it, but Shoko was fine. Yuzu uttered that she was a fool, and that night, posted Shoya on social media jumping into the water, captioning it with, "Anyone got the balls to beat me?" The post ended up getting him suspended from school, since jumping into that river was banned. Picking up Maria from the elementary school, she pointed out Yuzu hiding exhausted in the playset. Shoya asked what Yuzu was doing here and why he didn't have shoes, but instead of answering, Yuzu asked why Shoya wasn't mad, admitting he was the one who tweeted the photo. Learning this actually relieved Shoya, because he could kinda guess why Yuzu had done it, and thought he had it coming. Then, with him taking off with Maria, Yuzu suddenly passed out. So they brought him over to their place, where Miss Ishida served him a meal. Yuzu was a little reluctant to eat at first, but with cute little Maria offering to feed him, he just couldn't refuse. That night, while Shoya slept, Yuzu watched him, thinking about what Shoko had signed at him angrily. He later wandered out by himself in the rain, where Shoya found him. Shoya noticed Yuzu still wasn't wearing shoes and gave up his own. Walking back together, Yuzu explained Shoko was mad because he used her shampoo without asking her. She had told Yuzu to go away. Then, Yuzu questioned what Mr. Holier Than Thou, aka Shoya's deal was. He wondered if Shoya was just trying to make himself feel better by helping a stray. He knew Shoya had made fun of Shoko because she couldn't hear, but scoffed at the fact he learned sign language as a way to pretend to be a better person. However, Shoya responded he wasn't better. He called himself a terrible human being and said he had no right to live, but at the very least, he didn't want to make Shoko cry anymore. With the rain ending, Yuzu began his walk back alone, signing that he wasn't Shoko's boyfriend, but instead actually her little sister, causing Shoya to get embarrassed. Miss Nishimiya then quickly went up to Shoya to slap him, then dragged Yuzu away. Back at home, the two siblings hugged it out. Their mother told them to stay away from that boy, but of course, they were going to decide that for themselves. Yuzu returned the umbrella, and Shoya introduced Tomo to Shoko. Shoya then brought up his cell phone and texting, and asked her if there's anyone from their old school whose number she'd like to know. She told him Sahara, the one girl that had been nice to her. He took on the challenge of trying to get in contact with Miyoko Sahara, asking Miki, who didn't keep up with her, but knew which school she went to. It was Taiyo Girls Academy, a school that Naoka also went to. It was quite a ways away, so Shoya and Shoko took a train together to get there. They communicated by texting along the way there, and Shoko was particularly happy and grateful for Shoya trying to help her. Arriving at their destination, Miyoko spotted them first. Excited to see Shoko, and surprised to see Shoya. She apologized for leaving so suddenly back in grade school, and the two had a pleasant catch-up. Shoya decided to wander around a bit, and came across Naoka wearing a cat outfit, handing him a discount coupon for Meow Meow Club. He wondered if he should go back and get Naoka to meet with Shoko too, but felt maybe they wouldn't get along. When he entered the shop with Tomo, Naoka fell out of her chair. She was surprised he really came. The boys spent some time with the cats, but didn't end up meeting with Naoka at all. Shoya came back with the little cat merch, giving it to Yuzu to give to her big sister. Shoko was apparently having a bad time, so she left the gift on her bed. With Shoya on his bike, Naoka suddenly hopped right on behind him, telling him to go, and playing like them meeting again was so casual. Spotting Shoko, she expressed playful sympathy. Then, seeing the cat pouch from her workplace, she learned Shoya gave it to Shoko and wasn't pleased. She ran right up to Shoko, taking off one of her hearing aids, surprised that Shoko was only wearing one. She was gonna have fun throwing it around just like old times, but Shoya took it back and apologized. However, Naoka took it back from him, and teased the two for potentially going out as a couple. Hearing they were just friends though, Naoka began to break out in laughter. She thought a guy befriending the girl he bullied was just too funny. She then told him he's gotten really lame, handed the hearing aid back, and walked off. In the morning, Yuzu noticed Shoko's hair was tied up in a cute ponytail. Shoko made a weird face in response, and it was so cute, Yuzu felt Shoya needed to see, and texted him to come feed the carp today. Shoya spotted her from afar, causing her to blush and hide. The two conversed, and with Shoya pointing out her speaking was kind of incomprehensible, She felt kind of down. He told her it was fine though, and trying to take off to buy some bread, she stopped him, eager to give him her gift. She then began shaking and shouted something that roughly sounded like, "I love Moo." Shoya took it as, "Oh, you love the moon? It does look pretty." Poor girl. She ran off, unable to articulate her confession to him. Shoya then met up with Tomo, asking if the gifts he received somehow resembled the moon. They didn't seem like candy, and Shoya didn't know what they were for. Meanwhile, Shoko ran back home, jumping onto her bed to try to get over her embarrassment. She texted to Yuzu she confessed to Shoya, kicking her feet knowing it didn't get through to him. Overhearing his classmates complimenting Miki's hairstyle change, Shoya thought of Shoko. He asked why she changed her hair, and Miki claimed no particular reason. It's just something girls did. She then whispered that Satoshi wanted to be friends with him, and the gang met up along with Miyoko at a bridge. Hearing Shoko wasn't coming today, Shoya wondered if she was avoiding him. He opened up to Yuzu that Shoko was trying to tell him something the other day, but he just couldn't get it. She giggled, hearing he thought Shoko had said she loved the moon, but advised him to just ask Shoko to hang out. And getting an invite from him that night, Shoko kicked her feet. So cute. At the amusement park, Yuzu wondered why Naoka was acting so friendly with her sister, but Shoya didn't even know she was going to be here. Okay, if I hadn't made it clear, I hate Naoka, and I'm sure you do too. Getting on a roller coaster, he decided to sit with Miyoko to ask if she was okay with having Naoka around. Miyoko didn't see any problems. The two took the same design course together, and she learned so much from Naoka in an artistic sense. The friends all had so much fun together, and Shoya questioned if he had the right to have so much fun. It was like he finally had a group of friends. Naoka then dragged him off to get takoyaki, where he found Kazuki working and telling Naoka she didn't need to play peacemaker. The trauma came back for Shoya, and the X's came back on everyone's faces as Naoka went after to check on him. She was just hoping the two could go back to being friends. He responded with, "Nobody asked you," but seeing the new group he had formed, he realized he had already done the exact thing she was trying to do. Sitting alone together, Naoka pinned this all on Shoko, believing if she weren't around, that things would have been fine. Things wouldn't have gotten weird between her and Miyoko, and he and Kazuki wouldn't have fallen out. Naoka wanted things to go back to how they were before Shoko came. However, Shoya took the blame solely on himself. Learning Shoya probably hated her, Naoka suddenly sprinted off, saying she wanted to ride the Ferris wheel with Shoko. And before the two went together, Yuzu made sure to give her big sister her camera. Yuzu later showed Shoya the footage from the Ferris wheel, where during the ride, Naoka outright told Shoko she hated her. Back in grade school, she didn't understand Shoko's situation, but felt Shoko didn't try to understand her either. She hated the stupid smile Shoko had on her face all the time, and all the times Shoko would immediately apologize when something happened. So she changed her approach at that point, instead ignoring and bad-mouthing Shoko. That was her way of telling Shoko to back off, but instead, Shoko went to the adults, and because of that, Shoya lost all of his friends. Everything around them then fell apart. Shoko tried to apologize, but Naoka didn't want that. She wanted them to shake hands as two people who hated each other. However, she never expected Shoko to only respond, "You're wrong, I hate myself." Naoka then knocked the camera over violently in response, walking off, still blaming Shoko. What were Shoya's thoughts on this? Well, he wanted Shoko to come to love herself. Back at school, Satoshi asked Shoya about Shoko and Naoka, having heard from Miki that things were complicated in grade school. Satoshi heard that Shoko was bullied because she couldn't hear, and he hated bullies. Shoya then brought this up to Miki, who asked if he was insinuating that she was going around telling people about the past. She told him he hadn't changed one bit, and called him a colossal jerk. Shoya tried to explain that Miki had badmouthed Shoko, but she denied it, and told everyone that Shoya bullied Shoko alone, and that she tried to stop him. Man, I hate her too. Shoya got sick, deciding to run off, biking until he got to a bridge, where he only thought of how much he hated himself. He later met up with Shoko, Yuzu, and Miyoko at the bridge they fed carp at, but next in coming was the rest of the gang, with Naoka as well, unfortunately. Miki apologized for earlier, but still put the blame on Shoya to begin with. Typical. She's the type to never take accountability. The only reason she's apologizing is because Satoshi told her she should forgive Shoya. Naoka didn't like this, asking what right we, as in both her and Miki, had to criticize Shoya over Shoko's bullying. Miki didn't like this use of we, basically saying Naoka's version of bullying was worse than hers, only because Naoka went out of her way to bully Shoko. I like how Miki's trying to rank their levels of bullying as a way to deflect that she still did something bad. Like, Naoka's direct bullying is S tier. That's why my B tier bullying of subtly shunning Shoko isn't bad at all. Miki didn't want to be lumped in with Naoka, but Naoka brought up that Miki laughed and fell in line with whatever she was doing. The two girls wanted Miyoko to pick a side, with Miki trying to curry favor by telling Miyoko that Naoka had badmouthed her too. Truthfully, Miyoko was scared of the both of them back then. Shoya was done. Curling up, he blamed himself again. Naoka hated that line of thinking, so he responded she needed to stop thinking she could decide everything for others. Miyoko wanted him not to be so harsh, so he told her to shut up, and that she was just gonna run away and regret her cowardice again, anyway. Miki then asked him what was wrong, but he didn't want to hear another word from her, telling her all she ever cared about was herself. Tomo then told Shoya he was on his side, but Shoya told him to buzz off, and that he didn't know anything. Man, I get the girls, but my man Tomo did nothing wrong. Miki was the first to leave, then Tomo, who said it didn't bother him. Everyone left one by one. Satoshi told Shoya he was awful, and Shoya responded, "Keep your nose out of it, outsider." And here, Satoshi thought they were friends. Shoya tried asking if Shoko wanted to go somewhere for summer break, but stopped when he saw her hurt look. That night, while Yuzu stared at Shoko's older journal, her grandmother expressed her worry. The grandmother thought Yuzu was a kind, pure girl, despite her having skipped school for such a long time now, and always getting yelled at by her mother. She felt blessed to have kind granddaughters. Bloodied pigeon, bloodied Shoko. Yuzu woke up from a nightmarish vision. At the carp-feeding bridge, Shoya noticed Shoko wasn't coming. He wondered if she was having another stomach ache or something. He spotted Yuzu, tearing up from afar, but played it off like he didn't see it when she came to greet him. He walked her to her destination, a funeral service, where she admitted she was still scared. They were mourning the loss of her grandmother. In the back, she spotted her mother sobbing hard, while Shoko seemed to be at peace with things. On another day, Shoya invited Shoko to go out with him somewhere. They went on a little date, walking around together, where by the end, Shoko apologized, telling Shoya he would end up unhappy if he kept hanging with her. Having put his other friends aside, he didn't feel like he could ever fix things. He would later hang out with both Shoko and Yuzu, talking a great deal, like everything was alright. He got invited to their place, being put on a mission to help the siblings bake a cake for their mother's birthday. He was worried he'd get slapped again, but Yuzu told him to forget slapped. He might get killed. When their mother came home, she wasn't happy seeing Shoya, but Yuzu intervened, telling her mother this was supposed to be a happy occasion. Eating cake together? Looks like he was able to avoid getting killed for now. They then invited him out to a fireworks show the following Tuesday. It was a beautiful occasion that everyone watched, but most of his friends were watching alone. Yuzu and her mother stepped away for some yakisoba, leaving just Shoya and Shoko to chat alone. He was glad to learn Miss Nishimiya was happy about her birthday, despite having a poker face, and asked when Shoko's birthday was. It was June 7th. It's already passed at this point. She was 18 now, and Shoya wanted them to celebrate her 19th birthday together next time. She smiled at him. After the fireworks show lit off another round, Shoko decided to take off, claiming she needed to study, and that she could head back alone just fine. But, with Yuzu spotting Shoya, she asked him to go get her camera. He went to their place, found it, and noticed Shoko standing out on the balcony looking at the fireworks. She then started climbing up the ledge, and he stumbled over. But when she jumped, he caught her in the nick of time. He did everything he could to pull her up, begging God to give him one last ounce of strength. Starting tomorrow, he wouldn't run away from things anymore. He'd look at people's faces. He'd listen to their voices. He promised to do things right. Seeing her ear, he remembered the scar he gave her back then. He never actually apologized for it, but he was sorry. He wondered if she was mad. He should have asked how she felt about him. She reached back up, climbing, causing him to tumble off the balcony where moments flashed before his eyes. He crashed into the water, feeling cold, yet warm at the same time. Meeting with Miss Ishida at the hospital. This time, Miss Nishimiya was the one apologizing. Along with Yuzu, they explained that Shoya saved Shoko, and they wanted to apologize on her behalf. Meanwhile, Naoka was beating on Shoko for causing Shoya to end up in the hospital. She wanted Shoko to stop acting like some tragic heroine. She wanted Shoko to say, "I caused everyone trouble and was really hurt by it, so I tried to commit suicide. I'm sorry. She called Shoko a cancer, and that people like her could only see things from their own point of view, and it pissed her off. Before she could land another strike though, Miss Nishimiya slapped Naoka, and the two started fighting. Miss Ishida then broke them up, and with Shoko finally meeting Shoya's mom, she wept and apologized over and over. Back at the Nishimiya residence, Yuzu began to take down her photos. She used to think her sister would stop talking about wanting to die if she saw them. The mother and daughter didn't know what to do. Shoko tried to bring flowers for Shoya, but Naoka answered and took them, shutting her out. Tomo couldn't get in, so he decided to chat with Shoko somewhere else. For Tomo, all he wanted desperately was for his best friend to wake up. Shoya was the first person that accepted him. Shoko blamed herself, believing she destroyed everything Shoya built up. She wanted to fix what she destroyed. She first met with Miki and Satoshi. Miki held her, telling her to learn to love even the things she hated about herself and move forward. She then met with Miyoko, who didn't know how to face Shoya, and blamed herself for failing to protect her. But Shoko believed Miyoko could change. She then tried to make amends with Naoka, who ignored her for a few days, until it rained. Shoko covered Naoka with her umbrella, and now there was no way she could be ignored. That night, Shoko had a nightmare about the time Shoya wanted to kill himself. She woke up and desperately ran to where they usually met, screaming and crying when she couldn't find him. Shoya suddenly woke up, calling her name. He ran out of the hospital, back to the place he always went to see her. The two wiped their tears, and then she poked him, surprised he was the real Shoya, causing him to fall in laughter. With her tearing up, he told her he was glad she was fine, and that he was good now, more or less. He apologized for the past, realizing he hadn't done that as of yet, and thought that was the reason she forced herself into making the worst possible choice. He got it wrong though. She blamed his fall on her being unable to change, and believed things would be better if she were gone. He then begged her to stop crying, and explained before coming here, he was talking to her in his dream. Back then, he was trying to give up on everything, but now, understood that wasn't right. He'd felt the same way she felt now for a long time, but realized that didn't mean he deserved to die. He wanted to apologize to everyone too, and now, he wanted her to help him live. He put her hands together, making the sign for friendship, but now wondered if he had just done something creepy. However, his embarrassment just made her laugh. She promised to help him though. Finally making it back home from the hospital, Maria held Shoya close, worried he was going to die, relieved he was alright. Naoka was watching from the corner, and his mother explained she had nursed him the entire time. Chatting one-on-one, Naoka finally admits she's an awful person, because even in this situation, she couldn't bring herself to like Shoko. Kisuke and Kazuki were the ones who pulled him up when he fell. They told her not to tell him, but she didn't care anymore. And with her taking off, he thanked her. Coming home, he was shocked to see Miss Nishimiya getting her hair cut by his mother. She apologized to him, but he was fine. His own mother claimed he was invincible. Upstairs, Yuzu was waiting for him, showing off her winning photography contest photo, followed by her failed exam test. She begged him to tutor her, and finally started going back to school, wanting to live up to the expectations of her big sister. Getting ready for his return back to school, Shoya tried his best to prepare himself to make amends with his friends. Outside, he spotted the gifts Shoko gave him planted amongst the flowers, surprised to learn that was what they were for. Riding out, he met with Shoko at the front gate, where they headed in for the school festival. Inside the halls, the students spoke in hushed whispers about his hospitalization. Shoko asked him what was wrong, and only now did he explain to her he didn't fit in at school. He couldn't look at people's faces, so he felt much better when he looked down. She told him it was fine if he kept looking down then, as she dragged him around. Opening the door to his class, where they were holding an alien-themed cafe, his classmates expressed their worry, causing him to get nervous and shut the door. His anxiety was high, so he hid in the bathroom, but Tomo went after to check on him. Tomo started sobbing and wept all over his best friend, saying if Shoya hadn't woken up, it would have been over for him. Things were finally cool with them now. They then met with Satoshi and Miki. Miki brought out paper cranes she and the classmates had made for him, and he was thankful, but also apologetic. Naoka played her usual shtick, saying all the friendliness was making her skin crawl. The two girls started beefing, but Miyoko told them to stop. Miyoko felt bad knowing Shoya had been going through so much, and that she was no help. The two forgave each other though. Then, Shoko and Naoka began to banter a bit, with Naoka using sign to call Shoko an idiot. Shoko got excited, calling Naoka the same, causing Naoka to get all tsundere, walking off and making the excuse she was going to get fried chicken. Checking out the festival, Shoya allowed himself to finally hear the people around him normally, without thinking they were all talking about him. The world became clear and vibrant, and the people were joyous and having fun. He began to cry, and he couldn't stop, now clearly seeing the faces of his friends, and a place he could belong. Oh man, I'm glad this story came to a positive resolution, but I still can't help but hate Shoya's old best friends, plus Miki and Naoka. I also wish Shoko's confession had gone through. She's such a cute character and definitely needs to be loved and protected at all costs. Subscribe for more content, but for now, watch this next video. It's me, ComfyTea. I'll see you all in the next one.